जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधर्व गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार अष्टतर शतशिशुमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार अष्टतर शतशिशुमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानुगौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम चय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौरमंडल व्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। जय श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय। श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। जय द Gaudiya Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada की जय। जय श्री सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा। Dandava pranams. Okay, so I'm not going to do kirtan this time because I started so late today. Anyways. So I'm going to just start with the Mangala Charan. Let me share my screen. Oh, wait, 1 second. Let me see. Let me open it up so I can see all who is there. 1 second. Huh, that's strange. It didn't load. Let me refresh that. Okay. Okay, so let's do the Mangala Charan. Ajnanatimidandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambhita bhujau kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro kamalayataksho Vishvambharo dvijavaro yugadharmapalo Vande jagat priyakaro karunavataro Namastrikala satyaya jagannatha sutaya cha Sabhrityaya saputraya sakalatraya te namaha. Jaya 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 Vishvambhara Dvijaraj Jaya Vishvambhara Priya Vaishnava Samaj Gaura Chandra Jaya Dharma Setu Mahadhir Jaya Sankirtanamay Sundara Sharir Jaya Nityanandir Bandhava Dhana Pran Jaya Gadadhara Advaitera Prema Dham Jaya Shri Jagarananda Priya Atishai Jaya Vakreshwar Kashishware Hriday Jaya Jaya Shivasari Priya Varganath Jiva Prati Karo Prabhu Shubha Drishtipat Madhya-khaṇḍa katha jeno amriter khanda, je katha shunile ghuche antara pashanda. Madhya-khaṇḍa katha bhai shuno eka chitte, sankirtana aramba hoilo jeno mate. O dear brothers, please hear attentively the topics of Madhya-khaṇḍa, wherein the inauguration of the Sankirtan pastimes is described. Tavaevasmi, na jivami tvaya vina, iti vigyaya devi tvam nayamang charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshai, kshiptastakama ditaranga madhye, kripa mai tvam sharanam prapanna, vrinde namaste charanarvindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur from Śrī Caitanya-charitamrita. Ore mura loko shuno Chaitanya mangal, Chaitanya mahima jate jani beshakal. Krishna lila bhagavate kohe veda vyas, Chaitanya lila ravyas vrindavana das. Vrindavana das koilo Chaitanya mangal, jahan shravane nashe sarva amanga. Chaitanya nitar jate janiye mahima, jate jani Krishna bhakti siddhanter sima. O bhagavate jato bhakti siddhanter sar, likhiya chen iha jani koriya udhar. Chaitanya mangal shune jari pashandi javan, sheho mahavaishnava hoy tatakhan. Amanushe rachite nare aiche granta dhanya, Vrindavana dasa mukhe bhakta Shri Caitanya. Vrindavana dasa pade koti namaskar, aiche granta korite ho tarila sansar. Narayani Chaitanye uchishta bhajan, तार गर्भे जन्मिला श्री दास वृंदावन. तार की अद्भुत चैतन्य चरित वर्णन, जहाँ श्रवण शुद्ध कोइलो त्रिभुवन. सहजे विचित्र मधुर चैतन्य विहार, वृंदावन दास मुखे अमृतेर धार. वृंदावन दास मुखे By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya-Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they are described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai, Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai. Hari Bol, everybody. Dandavat Pranams. I already saw Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Satya Mataji, Krishna Mai Didi, Kishore Krishna Prabhu, and let's see, Ganga Mataji, Gargaraj and I see there are a few others, 4 people watching right now. YouTube, Facebook. Pranams, everybody. All right, so now we're continuing on with our, where is it? There. With our reading from yesterday. Where did we read up to? One second, let me just look at the numbering here. Okay, so 222 to 248. That's today's reading. Okay, let's go back to 199, and we can just recap Mahaprabhu's instructions to his mother. This is very much like it's the same as Kapila's instructions to Devahuti. Mahaprabhu in the same ways, instructing his mother, same topics also. Okay, so 199, I'll just type that in. Actually, before that, let's just go over this again. Like, we'll read the summary up to where we are now. So, chapter 1, the beginning of the Lord's manifestation and his instructions on Krishna Sankirtan. This chapter describes Mahaprabhu's transformations of ecstatic love after his return from Gayadham, his activities of explaining to his students all words in relation to Krishna, and his instructions on the congregational chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. After returning from Gayadham, the Lord began to manifest ecstatic symptoms resulting from feelings of separation from Krishna while describing the glories of Gaya. The Lord described topics regarding the holy place to the devotees. This chapter includes descriptions of the Lord's meeting with devotees headed by Srivas, Shriman, Gadadhar, and Sadashiv at the house of Shuklambar Brahmachari, their astonishment and crying on seeing the Lord's ecstasy and separation from Krishna. The Lord visits the houses of Gangadas Pandit and Mukunda Sanjay. Mother Shachi's anxiety for her son and her prayers to Krishna on his behalf. The Lord's explanation to his students that the name of Krishna is the only purport of all words and scriptures. And the Lord's taking bath in the Ganga. Then the Lord's glorification to his mother while eating, his glorification that all scriptures are related to Krishna. And the Lord's description of the godless conditioned soul's pathetic condition within the womb. The Lord's explanation to his students that everything is related to Krishna. Okay, so we're going to be continuing our reading of Mahaprabhu's instructions to Sachimata. Let's read from 199. Actually, I'll go back a little bit further. Let's see. Wow, that was a long commentary. Okay, so Mahaprabhu instructed his students. The literatures that glorify devotional service to Krishna are true scriptures. Others are simply atheistic. Okay. Then this is Mahaprabhu instructing the students. One should never hear scripture or Purana that does not prominently describe the devotional service of Hari, even if it is recited by the four-headed Lord Brahma. A Chandal is not a Chandal if he chants the name of Krishna, and a Brahmana is not a Brahmana if he engages in sinful activities. Wow, that was a long commentary. Okay. Whatever the Lord as Kapila had previously instructed his mother, he now instructed to his mother again in the same mood. Mahaprabhu said, "O mother, please hear the glories of devotional service to Krishna. Be attached to Krishna in all respects. O mother, the servants of Krishna are never destroyed. Even the wheel of time is frightened by the sight of Krishna's devotees. O mother, Krishna's servants do not undergo the tribulations of residing in a womb, taking birth, or dying. Krishna is the father of the entire universe, and anyone who does not respect his father is rebellious and sinful, and therefore subjected to miseries, birth after birth. Dear mother, please hear attentively about the destination of the individual soul and the volume of distress he suffers by not worshipping Krishna. The living entity repeatedly dies and suffers the miseries of confinement within the womb. The reactions to his sinful activities manifest in every one of his limbs. Actually, what I was reading before about the scriptures, that was Mahaprabhu talking to Shachimata. I don't know, it wasn't the student, sorry, that was my mistake. Sorry. I just realized. Okay, anyway, sorry, what did I just read? Okay, so yeah, the living entity repeatedly dies and suffers miseries in the miseries of confinement in the womb, and the reactions to his sinful activities manifest in every one of his limbs. Okay. And we read this very long purport, which was pretty much every verse of Kapila Dev's instructions to Devahuti on this topic. So it's, yeah. Okay. All the bitter, sour, and salty preparations that the mother eats creates great inconvenience to the body of the child within the womb. The worms within the mother's stomach bite the tender flesh of the child, yet the child is unable to drive them away and continually burns with pain. Being encased within the hot ribs of his mother, the child cannot move, yet he survives by the arrangement of providence. Some most sinful persons do not even take birth. They repeatedly enter and die in the womb. They repeatedly enter and die in womb after womb. O Mother, please hear attentively about the fate of the living entity. At the end of 7 months, the living entity develops consciousness. At that time, the living entity remembers his previous sinful activities and repents. He sighs deeply and offers prayers to Krishna. He says, "O Krishna, O life and soul of the universe, please protect me. Other than you, to whom can a living entity submit his sorrows? O Lord, one who binds someone can alone set him free. Therefore, O Lord, why do you deceive one who is dead by nature? I have wasted my life in vain, seeking pleasure in wealth and children. Thus, I have not worshipped your priceless lotus feet. Where are the sons that I raised through endless sinful activities now gone, leaving me alone to enjoy the results of my deeds? Now, who will deliver me from this miserable condition? O Lord, you are the only friend who can deliver me. I have therefore understood that your lotus feet are the truth. O Krishna, I take shelter of you. Please protect me. Giving up a desire tree like you, I became maddened and took to sinful life. O Lord, you have certainly awarded me proper punishment, but now please bestow mercy on me. Be merciful to me so that I may not forget you wherever I take birth and die. Any place where your glories are not heard, where the Vaishnavas do not advent, and where there are no festivals for your pleasure, I do not wish to live there, even if it is the celestial abode of Indra. Okay, so that's where we read up to yesterday. Now, verse 222 of the first chapter of Madhya-khaṇḍa. One second, I'm just drinking some water. One second. Okay. The supremacy of human birth in the land of Bharat, of India, which is favorable for the devotion for the service of Hari, and the great utility for achieving the fifth goal of life provided by human birth in that same land of Bharat, which is full of sacred places wherein Lord Sri Hari appeared and enacted his pastimes, and which is better than the temporary heavenly planets wherein remembrance of the lotus feet of Hari is absent. So this Bharat, these places are glorified by the demigods in the following verse spoken by Sri Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 5:19-24. The supremacy of human birth. This is glorified by the demigods as follows. Nayatra Vaikunta Katha Sudhapaga Nasadhavo Bhagavatasadashraya Nayatra Yagesha Makha Mahotsava Suresha Loko Pinavaina Sevyatam. An intelligent person does not take interest in a place, even in the topmost planetary system, if the pure Ganga of topics concerning the Supreme Lord's activities does not flow there. If there are not devotees engaged in service on the banks of such a river of piety, or if there are no festivals of Sankirtan Yajna to satisfy the Lord, especially since Sankirtan Yajna is recommended in this age. Garbhavasa dukkha prabhu eha mor bhalo, jadi tor smriti mor rahe sarva kala. I do not mind the miseries of living in the womb, provided I can constantly remember you. Gaudiya Bhashya by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. O Lord, although the extremely miserable conditions within the womb are intolerable and heartrending, if my constant remembrance of you remains intact while suffering such extremely miserable conditions, then they are most praiseworthy, desirable, relishable, and wish-fulfilling. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 1.8.25, Queen Kunti prays to Lord Krishna as follows: Vipada santutas shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatsad apunar bhavadarshanam. So Queen Kunti prays, I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. 224. Tor pada parmer smarana nahi jata, heno kripa koro prabhu na feliba tata. O Lord, grant me the mercy that you will not send me to any place where remembrance of your lotus feet is absent. Gaudiya Bhashya. Since your mercy is not manifest in a place where one finds either the desire for temporary material sense gratification or the checking of the desire for temporary material sense gratification, in other words, material enjoyment or renunciation. So since your mercy is not manifest in a place where one finds either material enjoyment or renunciation, or where one finds attachment and hatred rather than remembrance of your lotus feet, your illusory cruelty towards the godless living entities is directly or indirectly present there. Okay? Please give up such illusory cruelty and deceit, and never captivate me with material objects that are not related to you. This is my heartfelt prayer. If your causeless mercy is showered on me, then you will always illuminate and remain in the pathway of my memory, and this I will consider your non-duplicitous mercy. Non-duplicitous mercy. May I not be vanquished by forgetting your lotus feet as a result of the fierce attacks of happiness and distress produced from my own sense gratification. E mata dukkha prabhu koti koti janma, pailo vistar prabhu sab mora karma. O Lord, I have suffered this way for millions and millions of births, simply as a result of my karma. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word vistar means collection of or abundance. The word karma refers to the results of previous misdeeds, sinful activities, misfortune, ill fortune, and bad luck. She dukha vipar prabhu rahe bare bar, jadi tor smriti thake sarva vedasar. O Lord, may those miseries and dangers come again and again, as long as your remembrance, which is the essence of all Vedas, remains intact. Gaudiya Bhashya. The essence of all the Vedas is that if a living entity constantly remembers Krishna, he will never face any kind of inauspiciousness. O Lord, even after falling into a miserable condition of life in this world as a result of my previous misdeeds, if your remembrance constantly remains awake within my heart, it will be most auspicious for me. To liberate the forgetful materialistic living entities from their absorption in matter and arouse their inclination towards him, the Lord has provided them innumerable threefold tribulations and miseries, which from the external point of view appear to be punishment, but from the internal point of view are evidence of great compassion. At every step, we are bewildered by the false ego of proudly identifying ourselves as the doers of our activities. And we remain constantly attached to sense gratification. But the bewildering illusory energy of the Lord turns all our material enjoyment into an ocean of misery. Yet behind the severe prescription of being afflicted by oppression, punishment, and threefold miseries, the incomparable mercy of the Lord flows like the Falgu river, which flows underground. Since in this material world we face innumerable varieties of inconveniences, like obstacles, disturbances, dangers, and misfortune, when our sense gratification is disturbed as a result, we condemn the misuse of our independence as godlessness, which is the root cause of our threefold miseries, and we simultaneously develop a distaste for absorption in matter. At the same time, we endeavor to search out our eternal benefit and freedom from material enjoyment, which is full of misery. And we can remember the unlimited mercy of the lotus feet of our eternal Lord Madhusudan, the deliverer from sins and calamities. The lesson we get from this is that to endeavor to enjoy or lord it over material nature is an extremely foolish proposition. Remembrance of Krishna, who is Satchidananda Vigraha, and the cause of all causes, and engagement in his service, based on remembrance, is our eternal wealth and source of supreme benefit. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 2.1.6, Sri Shukadev Goswami speaks to Maharaj Parikshit as follows: Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma Parinishtaya Janma Labha Parapungsam Ante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. (227) Heno koro Krishna eve dasya yoga diya Charane rakho dasi nandana koriya. O Krishna, please favor me with your service, and keep me at your lotus feet as the son of your maidservant. Gaudiya Bhashya. Just as the son of a Grahastha devotee's maidservant does not know anything from the time of his birth other than the service of the Lord, you should similarly engage me in your unalloyed service, accepting me as a son of your dependent maidservant. Then I may remain constantly engaged in your non-duplicitous service, and never on the pretext of service become a master by forgetting you. Bareka koroho jadi e dukher paro, toma boy tobe prabhu na chahimu aro. If you once deliver me from this miserable condition of life, then I will not desire anything other than you. E mata garbhavase pore anukshan, taho bhalovase Krishna smritir karan. In this way, the child constantly burns within the womb of his mother. Yet he nevertheless likes that situation because he can think of Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word taho means in spite of being burned by the miseries of residing in the womb. Although the intense pangs of distress resulting from living in the womb are certainly intolerable, since that situation is endowed with the happiness of Krishna's service, the child accepts suffering in that condition as relishable and desirable. Stavera prabhave garve dukha nahi pai, Kale pore bhumite apana anichai. By the influence of his prayer, the child does not feel distress in the womb, and in due course of time, he reluctantly comes out. The Bengali says he falls onto the ground. Pore bhumite. Shuno shuno mata jiva tatver sangstan. Bhumite porile matra hoy ageyan. O mother, please hear attentively about the living entity's condition. He loses consciousness on touching the ground. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Jiva Tattvara Sangstan refers to the state or situation of the materialistic conditioned soul who has forgotten Krishna. Murcha ghata hoy kone kande shwase, kohite na pare dukha sagarete bhase. Sometimes he loses his consciousness, sometimes he cries, and sometimes he sighs. Unable to say anything, he floats in an ocean of misery. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word shvase means he inhales and exhales. Krishner sevaka jiva Krishner mayai, Krishna na bhajile e mata dukkha pai. By the illusory energy of Krishna, the servant of Krishna suffers in this way if he does not worship Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. Every living entity is constitutionally a Vaishnav, or an eternal servant of Krishna. As soon as he turns from the service of Vishnu, he comes under the control of the covering and throwing potencies of Krishna's deluding illusory external energy. The mentality of measuring every object under the shelter of the illusory energy through one's sensory knowledge is certainly deluding and born of the desire for material enjoyment. Therefore, it is the source of unlimited miseries. In Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, Madhya 20, 117 to 118 and verse 120, it is stated, forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy, Maya, gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. In the material condition, the living entity is sometimes raised to higher planetary systems and material prosperity, and sometimes drowned in a hellish situation. His state is exactly like that of a criminal whom a king punishes by submerging him in water and then raising him again from the water. If the conditioned soul becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of saintly persons who voluntarily preach scriptural injunctions and help him to become Krishna conscious, the conditioned soul is liberated from the clutches of Maya, who gives him up. It is further stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22, verses 12 to 15, 24 to 25, 33, 35, 37, 41. It says, apart from the ever-liberated devotees, there are the conditioned souls who always turn away from the service of the Lord. They are perpetually conditioned in this material world and are subjected to the material tribulations brought about by different bodily forms and hellish conditions. Due to his being opposed to Krishna consciousness, the conditioned soul is punished by the witch of the external energy, Maya. He is thus ready to suffer the threefold miseries brought about by the body and mind, the inimical behavior of other living entities, and natural disturbances caused by the demigods. In this way, the conditioned soul becomes a servant of lusty desires, and when these are not fulfilled, he becomes a servant of anger and continues to be kicked by the external energy, Maya. Wandering and wandering throughout the universe, he may by chance get the association of a devotee physician whose instructions and hymns make the witch of the external energy flee. The conditioned soul thus gets into touch with the devotional service of Lord Krishna, and in this way, he can approach nearer and nearer to the Lord. The living entity is bound around by the neck by the chain of Maya, because he has forgotten that he is eternally a servant of Krishna. If the conditioned soul engages in the service of the Lord and simultaneously carries out the orders of his spiritual master and serves him, he can get out of the clutches of Maya and become eligible for shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. One is immediately freed from the clutches of Maya if he seriously and sincerely says, "My dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in the material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service." Due to bad association, the living entity desires material happiness, liberation, or merging into the impersonal aspect of the Lord, or he engages in mystic yoga for material power. If such a person actually becomes intelligent, he takes to Krishna consciousness by engaging himself in intense devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna. If those who desire material enjoyment or merging into the existence of the Absolute Truth engage in the Lord's transcendental loving service, they will immediately attain shelter at Krishna's lotus feet, although they did not ask for it. Krishna is therefore very merciful. When someone engages in Lord Krishna's devotional service for the satisfaction of the senses and instead acquires a taste to serve Krishna, he gives up his material desires and he willingly offers himself as an eternal servant of Krishna. 234. Koto dine kala vashe hoy buddhi gyan, ite je bhajaye Krishna she bhagyavan. In due course of time, the child develops intelligence and knowledge, and if he worships Krishna, he is surely fortunate. Anyata na bhaje Krishna dushta sanga kore, punashe mata maya pape dubi more. But if he does not worship Krishna and takes to bad association, then he again sinks into the depths of sinful activities and delusion. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word anyata means on the other hand, or apart from this, or on the contrary. The phrase Maya Pape refers to either forgetfulness of Krishna due to the influence of Maya, or the ocean of sin accumulated through aversion to Krishna. The wicked propensity of dishonest non-devotees is to give up the service of Krishna and endeavor for extraneous desires, karma or gyan. They consider... One second. They consider spiritual objects to be limited and insignificant, and while measuring them with their sensual knowledge, they become materialistic. Those living entities who are extremely unfortunate and devoid of taste for the service of Krishna meet death by drowning in the ocean of material existence created by Maya. The attempt to measure everything through material senses is simply aversion to and forgetfulness of the Lord. Material knowledge carries away such conditioned souls in the waves of piety and impiety, and ultimately compels them to suffer the pangs of birth and death by drowning them in the deep waters of material existence. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.26.3, Lord Krishna speaks to Uddhava as follows: Sangam nakuryadat asatam shishno dara tripam kvachit tasyanugastamasyanhe patantyandhanugandavat. Uh-oh. Translation's missing. This happened before also. Let's read it here. Haribol Sudevi Didi. Oops. Okay. I wanted database.io. Anyways. Let's see. That's so weird. Usually it always come here. Let me just type in database.io. There. Oops. I typed in 30. It says 33. I want 3. Okay, so this verse is, one should never associate with materialists, those dedicated to gratifying their genitals and bellies. By following them, one falls into the deepest pit of darkness, just like a blind man who follows another blind man. Sangam nakuryad asatam. Shishnu daratubam kuchit. Okay. Tasyanugas tamasyande patantyandhanugandavat. Okay, so by following them, one falls in the deepest pit of darkness, just like a blind man who falls. Verse 236. Yadasarbhi patipuna shishnodara kritodhyamai hastito ramate jantus tamo vishati purvavat. If, therefore, the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. Anayasena maranam vena dainyena jivanam anaradhita govinda charanasya katam bhavit. For one who has never worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, how is it possible for him to live in comfort and die in peace? Gaudiya Bhashya. See Adi-khaṇḍa chapter 7, verse 136. Anayase marana jivana duke bine Krishna bhajile shehoy Krishner smarane. To live without poverty and die peacefully, one must worship and remember Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. See Adi-khaṇḍa chapter 7, verse 137. Eteke bajoho Krishna sadhu sangha kori mane chinta Krishna mata mukhe bolo hari. Therefore, O mother, worship Krishna in the association of devotees. Think of Krishna and chant the name of Hari. Gaudiya Bhashya. Therefore, O mother, always worship Krishna in the association of devotees and remember Krishna within your heart while chanting the name of Hari with your mouth. If you give up the association of devotees, or if you attempt to worship Krishna under the direction of a non-devotee, there is no possibility of your attaining the service of Krishna. The necessity for chanting the name of Krishna in the association of devotees is described in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 3.23.55, wherein Devahuti speaks to Kardama Muni as follows. Sangoya samsriter hetur asatsu vihito dhiya sa eva sadhushu krito nisangatvaya kalpate. Association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage. But the same type of association performed with a saintly person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.2.30, Nimi, the king of Videha, speaks to the nine yogendras as follows. Ata atyantikam kshemam prichamo bhavato nagha samsaresmin kshanardopi satsanga shevadhir nrinam. Therefore, O completely sinless ones, I ask you to kindly tell me what the supreme good is. After all, even half a moment's association with pure devotees within this world of birth and death is a priceless treasure for any man. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 3.25.20, Lord Kapila speaks the following words to Devahuti. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu sa eva sadhushu krito moksha dvaram apavritam. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 4.22.19, Shri Sanat Kumar says to Maharaj Prithu, Sangama khalu sadhunam ubayesham chasammata yat sambhashana samprashna sarvesham vitanotisham. When there is a congregation of devotees, their discussions, questions, and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience. Thus, such a meeting is beneficial for everyone's real happiness. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 4.29.40, Narad Muni speaks to Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata as follows. Tasmin mahan mukarita madhubich charitra piyush shesha sarita parita shravanti taye pibantya vitrisho nripagadha karnais tana sprishantyashanatrid bayashoka moha. My dear King, in that assembly of saintly persons, the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are heard and chanted with great eagerness by the pure devotees. If one gets a chance to hear their constant flow of nectar, which is exactly like the waves of a river, one will forget the necessities of life, namely hunger and thirst, and become immune to all kinds of fear, lamentation, and illusion. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 4.30.33, the Prachetas offer the following prayer to the Lord. Yavat te mayaya sprishta brahmama iha karmabhi tavar bhavat prasanganam sangasyan no bhave bhave. Dear Lord, as long as we have to remain within this material world due to our material contamination and wander from one type of body to another and from one planet to another, we pray that we may associate with those who are engaged in discussing your pastimes. We pray for this benediction, life after life, in different bodily forms and on different planets. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 2.2.36, Sri Shukadev Goswami speaks the following words to Maharaj Parikshit. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan hari sarvatra sarvada shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartavyo bhagavan nirinam. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 4.20.24, Maharaj Prithu prays to the Lord of Vaikuntha as follows. Nakamaye nata tadapyaham kvachin nayatra yushmach charanam bujasava mahattamantar hridayan mukhachuto vidhatsva karna yutam esha me vara. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 ears, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. What a beautiful prayer. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 5.12.13, the Avadut Bharat speaks to Rahugana as follows. Yatrottama shloka gunanuvada prastuyate grama katha vigata nishevyamano nudina mumukshur matim satim yachati vasudeve. In an assembly of pure devotees, there is no question of discussing material subjects like politics and sociology. In an assembly of pure devotees, there is discussion only of the qualities, forms, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is praised and worshipped with full attention. In the association of pure devotees, by constant hearing such topics respectfully, even a person who wants to merge into the existence of the Absolute Truth abandons this idea and gradually becomes attached to the service of Vasudeva. The saintly king Muchukunda prays to Lord Krishna in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10.51.53 as follows. Bhava pavargo brahmato yada bhavej Janasya tarhya chuta sat samagama. Satsangamo yarhi tadaiva sadgato. Paravarishe tvaijayate mati. When the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attain the association of your devotees. And when he associates with them, there awakens in him devotion unto you, who are the goal of the devotees and the Lord of all causes and their effects. You are the Lord of all causes and their effects. In Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 6:11-27, Vritra offers the following prayer to the Supreme Lord. Mamottama shloka janeshu sakyam sangsara chakre brahmata swakarmibi tvanmayayat matar. Sorry, I always have a hard time saying that one. Tvanmayayat majadaragehe shvasakta chittasya nanata bhuyat. O my Lord, my Master, I am wandering throughout this material world as a result of my fruitive activities. Therefore, I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of your external energy. But I wish to become attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness, and everything I have be attached only to you. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 3:25-25, Lord Kapiladev speaks to his mother Devahuti as follows. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tarjoshanad ashpapavargavartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukrimishyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 1-14 and verses 16-18, Sri Sutta Goswami speaks to the sages headed by Shaunak as follows. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavyam kirtitavyascha dheya pujascha nityada. Shusho shadadhanasya vasudeva katharuchi syan mahat sevaya vipra punyatirtha nishevanat. Shrinvatang swakata krishnam punya shravana kirtana hridantasto yabhadrani vidhunoti suritsatam nashta prayeshvavadreshu nityang bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, he cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So Mahāprabhu continues now, verse 240. Bhaktihina, actually, whenever there are very long purports, I just like to go back and remind myself what verse we read. Okay, so let's see. So Mahāprabhu said, there's no substantial result in activities that are devoid of devotion to the Lord. Such non-devotional activities simply result in violence to others. So that's what the Lord said.
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't want to interrupt today.
No problem.
So all this that you read in this purpose are from Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah,
Srila Prabhupada?
no, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
And they're okay. Because it's, and who translated this?
This book was translated by Bhumipati Prabhu, your godbrother Bhumipati Prabhu.
Okay, because there's a change there. That wasn't there in the original Śrīmad Bhagavatam. On the purpose of by regular attending, he says regular attending classes. But Prabhupada said by regular hearing from the pure devotee and rendering service to him.
For Srinvatam Sakata Krishnam?
Yeah, by regularly hearing Śrīmad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Not attending classes. That was after 77 that change came in.
Oh, interesting. I never knew about that. Wow.
Yeah, okay. It was a political move in a way to get everybody to follow these phony gurus attending their class.
Wow. Okay.
But then he said, I think you should be clear, that's a little funny translation there, some slip in there.
Okay. Good to know.
It's by regularly hearing Śrīmad Bhagavatam.
Regularly hearing Śrīmad Bhagavatam.
Yeah. Yes, Shrinvatam, that means hearing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but I thought
no problem. That's important. Yeah, that's definitely important.
It's an important point. Yeah. Yes. Talking about changes to the books. What Prabhupada said.
Yes. Okay, so Mahāprabhu continues explaining to his mother. Bhakti hina karme kono phal nahi pai, she karma bhakti hin parahingsa jai. There is no substantial result in activities that are devoid of devotion to the Lord. Such non-devotional activities simply result in violence to others. Gaudiya Bhashya. The performer of pious activities not executed for the pleasure of the Lord does not achieve any result. Activities that are devoid of devotion to the Lord are simply violence. In other words, every activity in which there is an absence of devotional service results in violence. Fruitive activities and mental speculation are both dependent on devotional service. But devotional service is not dependent on fruitive activities, mental speculation, or mystic yoga. Rather, it is fully independent and unaffected by anything material. There is no possibility of violence in the execution of devotional service. In other words, no form of violent activities can remain in the devotional service of a servant inclined towards the service of the Lord. Condemnation of materialistic activities is described in the following statements. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 3:23-56, Lord Kapila speaks to his mother Devahuti as follows. He says, Ne hayat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirtha padasevayai jivan api mrto hisa. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, must be considered dead, although he is breathing. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 128, Sri Sutta Goswami speaks to the sages headed by Shonak as follows. Dharma svanushtita pungsam vishvaksena katasuyat notpadayad yatiratim shama eva hi kevalam. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. So whatever we do that does not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead is just useless labor. Everything we do should be for that purpose. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 1.5.12, Sri Narad Muni speaks to Sri Vyas as follows. Naishkarmyam apyuchuta bhavavarjitam nashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kuta puna shashvar abhadramishvare nacharpitam karma yadapyakaranam. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities, which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient in nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? In the Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Lord Krishna instructs Arjuna as follows. Tetang bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti evam dharmam anuprapanna katagatam kama labhante. So I don't think I did the right meter for that. When they have thus enjoyed vastly heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. In the Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.7, it is stated, Plava hyete ardrada yagyarupa ashtadashoktam avaram yeshu karma etatchayo ye binanandati mudha jara mritum te punarevapiyanti. I didn't do the right meter for that either, sorry. Even the best kinds of karmic sacrifices, carefully performed with 18 priests, are unreliable boats for crossing the ocean of material existence. They are unreliable boats for crossing, Those deluded souls who take to materialistic forms of sacrifice, thinking that they lead to the highest spiritual gain, are fools who suffer again and again. They suffer again and again the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Again, in the Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.9, it is stated, Yat karmino na pavedayanti ragat tena turakshina lokash chavante. Deep in the darkness of ignorance, these fools think, we have reached the goal. Being attached to karmic religions, they fail to understand the truth. After their piety is exhausted, they fall down to repeated birth and death. 241. What number are we reading up to again? We're reading up to 248. Okay, so last 7 verses. Kapiler bhabe prabhu mayere shikai shuni she vakya shachi anande milai. In this way, the Lord, in the mood of Kapila, instructed his mother. Upon hearing his words, Shachi merged in ecstasy. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word milai means she became attached, she became absorbed, she saw or she melted. Ki bhojane ki shayane ki bajagarane Krishna binu prabhu ar kichu na bakane. There are a few verses in Caitanya-bhāgavata that says ki bhojane ki shayane ki bajagarane. Whether eating, sleeping, or remaining awake, the Lord did not speak of anything other than Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. While eating, sleeping, and remaining awake, the Lord never attempted to glorify anything other than topics related with Krishna's name, forms, qualities, and pastimes. Persons belonging to the Gaur Nagari and other Apasampradayas say that the householder Gauranga instructed attached householders to simply perform Griha Meda Yagyas, or sacrifices for the prosperity of one's family life. But in this case, the author, Thakur Śrī Vrindavan Das, does not describe any such or similar endeavors of the Lord, who is fully absorbed in the mood of a devotee. Aptamuke ekata shuniya bhaktagan sarva gane vitarka bhaven mane man. When all the devotees heard from their friends about this, When all the devotees heard from their friends about this, they discussed together and began to contemplate. Gaudiya Bhashya. The second line of this verse indicates that the devotees began to discuss, imagine, and consider. Kiba Krishna prakasha hoila she sharire, kiba sadhu sange kiba purver sanskare. The devotees thought, has Krishna manifested in his body? Is this the result of devotees' association, or because of previous purificatory processes? E mata mane shabe koren vichar, sukhamoy chitta vritti hoilo sabar. As all the devotees contemplated in this way, their hearts filled with happiness. Kandilo bhaktera dukha pashandir nash, Mahāprabhu Vishwambar hoila prakash. The devotees' distress was vanquished, and the atheists were uprooted as the Supreme Lord Vishwambar manifested himself. Gaudiya Bhashya. Now, the rising sun-like preaching of devotional service to Krishna by Vishwambar, who is the distributor of love of Krishna throughout the entire world, eradicates the former mental agony of the devotees who were ridiculed and harassed by the non-devotees, and begins the pastime of oppressing the atheists who were opposed to devotional service. Vaishnava aveshe Mahāprabhu Vishwambar, Krishnamoy Jagat Dekhaye Nirantar. In the mood of a Vaishnav, Mahāprabhu Vishwambar constantly saw Krishna present everywhere in the world. He constantly saw Krishna present everywhere in the world. Aharnisha Shravane Shunaye Krishna Nam, Vadane Baloy Krishna Chandra Aviram. He heard the names of Krishna both night and day, and he constantly chanted the name of Krishna Chandra. Gaudiya Bhashya. Śrī Gaurasundar exhibited the pastimes of a Mahabhagavat Vaishnav and began to see everything in relation to Krishna. Ordinary materialists who have forgotten Krishna become bewildered by mundane knowledge, and instead of seeing everything in relation to Krishna, they see the entire world as a place of enjoyment. Mahāprabhu, however, did not set such an example by identifying himself as the enjoyer. Rather, he saw this animate and inanimate world, which is visible to the conditioned souls who are averse to and forgetful of Krishna. He saw this inanimate and inanimate world through the spiritual vision of a Mahabhagavat Vaishnav inclined to the service of Krishna. He began to realize the pastimes of omnipotent Krishna in the heart of every living entity. Therefore, since he had no temporary material conceptions like the forgetful materialistic conditioned souls, while realizing transcendental Vaikuntha, since he did not have temporary material conceptions like the forgetful materialistic conditioned souls, while realizing transcendental Vaikuntha Loka everywhere, he was not obstructed by those opulences from seeing Krishna's pastimes of enjoyment and acceptance of service. Okay. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8-274, it is stated, Stavara jangama deke na deke tar murti, sarvatra hoy nija ishta deva spurti. The Mahabhagavat, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere, he immediately sees manifest the form of the Supreme Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.45 and verses 49-54, Sri Havi, one of the nine Yogendras, speaks to Nimi, the king of Videha, as follows. Shri Havir Uvacha Sarvabhuteshu ya Pasher Bhagavad Bhavamatmana Bhutani Bhagavattatmanyesha Bhagavatottama. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. Dehendriya pranamano dhyamno yo janmapayakshur vayatarsha krichray sangsara dharmar avimohyamana smritya harer bhagavata pradhana. Within the material world, one's material body is always subject to birth and decay. Similarly, the life air, the pran, is harassed by hunger and thirst. The mind is always anxious. The intelligence hankers for that which cannot be obtained. And all of the senses are ultimately exhausted by constant struggle in the material nature. A person who is not bewildered by the inevitable miseries of material existence, and who remains aloof from them, simply by remembering the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that person is considered to be Bhagavat Pradhan, the foremost devotee of the Lord. Nakama karma bijanam yasya chetasi sambhava vasudevaika nilaya savai bhagavatottama. One who has taken exclusive shelter of the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva, becomes free from fruitive activities which are based on material lust. In fact, one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord is freed from even the desire to enjoy material sense gratification. Plans for enjoying sex life, social prestige, and money cannot develop within his mind. Thus, he is considered Bhagavatottama, a pure devotee of the Lord on the highest platform. Na yasya janma karma abhyam na varnashrama jatibhi sajjate smin aham bhavo dehe vai sahare priya. Birth in an aristocratic family and the execution of austere and pious activities certainly cause one to take pride in himself. Similarly, if one enjoys a prestigious position within society because his parents are highly respected members of the Varnashram social system, one becomes even more infatuated with himself. But if, despite these excellent material qualifications, one does not feel even a tinge of pride within himself, he is considered the dearmost servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nayasya svapara iti vitteshvatmani vabhidha sarvabhuta samashanta savai bhagavatottama. When a devotee gives up the selfish conception by which one thinks, this is my property and that is his, and when he is no longer concerned with the pleasures of his own material body or indifference to the discomforts of others, he becomes fully peaceful and satisfied. He considers himself simply one among all the living beings who are equally part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a satisfied Vaishnava is considered to be at the highest standard of devotional service. Tribhuvana vibhava hetave pyakunta smritir ajitatma suradibhir vimrigyat nachalati bhagavat padaravinda lava nimishardham apya sa vaishnavagriya. The lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are sought even by the greatest of demigods, such as Brahma and Shiva, who have all accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their life and soul. A pure devotee of the Lord can never forget those lotus feet in any circumstance. He will not give up his shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord for a single moment. Indeed, not even for half a moment, even in exchange for the benediction of ruling and enjoying the opulence of the entire universe. Such a devotee of the Lord is to be considered the best of the Vaishnavas. Haribol Seline Jagbandhan. Hare Krishna. Bhagavata Uru Vikramangri Shaka Nakamani Chandrika Nakamani Chandrikaya Nirastatape Hriti Katam Upashidatam Punasa Prabhavati Chandra Ivo Diter Katapa. Sorry, I didn't know the meter for that exactly. How can the fire of material suffering continue to burn the hearts of those who worship the Supreme Lord? The Lord's lotus feet have performed innumerable heroic deeds, and the beautiful nails on his toes resemble valuable jewels. The effulgence emanating from those nails resembles cooling moonshine, for it instantly relieves the suffering within the hearts of the pure devotee, just as the appearance of the moon's cooling light relieves the burning heat of the sun. Okay, I think I'm just going to read a couple more verses. Jai Prabhu Achila Bhola Mahavidya Rase Eve Krishna Binu Ar Kicho Nahi Vase. The same Lord who was once absorbed in the taste of scholastic pastimes did not relish anything now other than Krishna. Paruvar Varga Sab Ati Usha Kale Porivar Nimitta Asiya Sabe Mile. In the early morning, all his students would gather for studies. Poraite Vaishagiya Trijagatarai Krishna Vinu Kichu Arna Aise Jivai. When the Lord of the three worlds began to teach, nothing other than Krishna came from his mouth. Siddhavarna Samamnaya Bole Shishyagan Prabhu Bole Sarvavarne Siddha Narayan. The students asked, "What is the meaning of Siddhavarna Samamnaya?" The Lord replied, "Narayan is situated in every letter of the alphabet." That is the meaning. Okay, I'm not going to read that Gaudiya Bhasha because we only have 4 minutes left. So we will continue reading from this point on tomorrow. I'll end with a little Mahamantra Kirtan. 1 second. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Kishore Prabhu.
जय सब्रिकार शेषे गुरु गौरंग कन्हर विका गिरिधारी राधा विनोद बिहरी राधा नयनाथ राधरमन बिहरी राधमार्व शिशे राधा श्याम सुंदर जीव की जय श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जीव की जय जय नत्यालील प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद परमहंस ब्रजचारि वर्या स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोस्वामी गुरु महाराज की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद परमहंस ब्रजचारि वर्य स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील गुरुदेव की जय पतित पावन शिल गुरुदेव की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति बल तीर्थ गोस्वामी महाराज की जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्तिभ्रांतर विक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति विकास ऋषिकेश गोस्वामी महाराज की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्तिदयित माधव गोस्वामी परम गुरु महाराज की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज परम गुरुदेव की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान जगत गुरु श्री वृषभानावि द्वैतदास शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद महापरम भगवत परवार परमहंस अष्टोत्रस्त शिशुमान गौर किशोर दास पक्षी महाराज की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद सत्यम गोस्वामी अष्टोत्रस्त शिशुमाद सचिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर महाशय की जय नित्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सर्वभौम अष्टोत्रस्त शिशुमाद जगन्नाथ पक्षी महाराज की जय सूर्य कुंडवासी सिद्धाशल मधुसुंदास पक्षी महाराज की जय श्री उर्विदास उदरानदास की जय गुरुविदान आचार्य शिशुमार बलदेव विभूषण प्रभु की जय महामहोपध्याय ऋषि शिरोमणि शिल विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर पार की जय श्री राधरमन चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय श्री कृष्ण चरण चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय श्री गंग नारायण चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय जय शिल रसिकानंद मुरारी प्रभु की जय जय शिल रामचंद्र कविराज की जय जय शिल नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभुत्राय की जय जय श्री शैल कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय जय व्यास अवतार अर्काविशल वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय श्री अष्टक विराज कुसुर जान नित्यानंद दुर्ष गोपाल श्री चौषति महंत की जय जय श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ, श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ, सर गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर रमनंद लोकनाथ भगर्भ अली गौर परिषार वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से गो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री शिल ईश्वरपुरी गोस्वामी पाद की जय। श्री शिल माधवेंद्रपुरी गोस्वामी पाद की जय। श्री अंतर्द्वीप मायपुर सिमंदीप गौतमदीप मध्यदीप कुलदीप ऋतुदीप चानुदीप मातरत्नमादीप रुद्रादीप मात्मका श्री नावदीप धाम की जय। श्री एक चक्र धाम की जय। श्री शांतिपुर धाम की जय। श्री गौरचंद्र भगवान की जय। श्री श्री गौर गदाधर की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ गोपी गपा गो गिरिगोवर्धन द्वरशत वनात्माक श्री ब्रजमंडल धाम की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गंग सखी अमन सखी तुलसी भक्ति देव की जय। वृषभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा रानी ठाकुरानी की जय। जय श्री ललिता विशाख चित्र चंपकलता तुंग विद्या इंदुलेखा रंग देवी सुदेवी अरि सखी वृंद की जय। श्री अनंग प्रेम मंजलाल श्री रूप लवंगा राग विलस गुण रति कस्तूरी कमल नयन मणि अरि मंजारी वृंद की जय। श्रीमती वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भगवती पूर्णमासी योगमाय देवी की जय। जय श्री गोपीश्वर श्री शिव महादेव की जय। राधा परंकित दाम श्री वृंदावन की जय। जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र नीलमाधव जीव की जय। श्री तत्व गोपीनाथ की जय। श्री जगत पर्वत की जय। श्री दंड लीलास्तर की जय। जय श्री जगन्नाथपुरी पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र मंडल नीलाचल धाम की जय। चल प्रभात सरस्वती ठाकुर जन्मस्थान की जय। सर्व विघ्न विनशन करे भक्त विघ्न विनाश श्री इंद्र सिंह देव की जय। भक्तराज भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। श्री प्रहलाद लक्ष्मी नृसिंह देव की जय। श्री चरिताम चरि संप्रदाय चर्याचार्य की जय। श्री मध्वार मनोज विष्णु स्वामी निम्बदित्य चर्याचार्य की जय। आकर्मतरा श्री चैतन्य मात की जय। श्री गौरीमाद वृंद की जय। करंतरा श्रीमान भगवताम भगवद गीता चैतन्य चरितामृत चैतन्य भगवत जैव धर्म हरि सर्व गौरिय वैष्णव ग्रंथ वृंद की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल श्री हरिनाम प्रभु की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल गोलखेर प्रेमदान श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन धर्म की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल धन्य कलयुग तर्क ब्रह्म श्री हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे महामंत्र की जय। श्री आनंद पुरी वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री समकट गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। पर ब्रह्मन परमा सत्यम परमेश्वर पतित पावन प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम स्वयं भगवान जगन्नाथ मिश्र नंदन गौर सुंदर कराधर प्राणनाथ श्री विशंबर मिश्र निमाय पंडित श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य चंद्र महाप्रभु की जय। परमा दयाल श्रीमान नित्यानंद बलराम हजान की जय। श्री चैतन्य भगवान की जय। श्री शिल वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। शिल प्रभुपाद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर की जय। शिल प्रभुपाद गौरी वश्य की जय। जय श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रयाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रद देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वंशाकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna. Let me just... Nari Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Kishore Krishna Prabhu, Seline Jagbandan, and let's see on YouTube and Facebook, Ganga Mataji, Gargarajji, Sudevi Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Champak Mataji, and everybody else who's watching Dandavat pranams. So, Nari Hari Prabhu, you're just about to get on a plane to Hawaii, right? What time is your... when is your flight? Oh, anyways, it's off right now. But anyways, we can all wish Nuri Haribu a safe journey back to Hawaii, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the next. Actually, I'm gonna tomorrow morning before Mangalarti. I'm gonna be leaving here at 4 a.m.
Very Hari had to go in the other room for a minute, but
Yes.
we're not leaving till 9 o'clock tonight or 8 o'clock, something like that. So
Okay.
we're
Okay.
but
Yeah, I hope you have a smooth journey there then.
thank you so much. We hate to leave, but we're
Yes.
going to
You'll be back though. Right? You'll be back
and
soon.
with Gorni Tai are taking us. So
Yes.
it's
Okay.
the deity. We have to actually see. I don't know how to turn it around.
Okay. No problem. Kishore is saying, I like Mahāprabhu's explanation on the Sanskrit alphabet. Yes. Very.
Oh,
Yes, we're going to be reading about that also tomorrow, right? We read about that previously also, how every... No, we're going to be reading about it later on. Yeah, all right. Dandavat pranams, everybody. So, so tomorrow before Mangalarti, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm leaving to Mathura to get on a train to Navadvip. And so I'm going to pre-record 2 videos today. I'm not sure if I'm going to record Caitanya-bhāgavata or if maybe I'll just read something else. But tomorrow and the day after will be pre-recorded videos, no live video. And then when I'm back in Navadvip, we will continue again. But I'll still make the videos go live at the same time. So, all right. Dandavat pranams. Oh, Jai Gornitai here. Let me share the screen. Jai Gornitai.
Jai Nitai Gaur.
Jai Ho. Thank you. You're muted right now. Yeah, sorry, you're still muted. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I unmuted it.
Okay.
I don't know how to work it though. Yes,
No.
Gorni Tai are taking us on a preaching trip. That's how we're sitting.
That's wonderful. Yes.
We're not leaving Vrindavan due to our offenses. We're being taken by Gorni Tai to go preach.
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. Jai Nitai Jai Gaur. Hari Bol. All right. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare